Are you just kind of bouncing around in general, or is this like a game that you've played in the past? I always wonder how people stumble across me, because I'm assuming a lot of the people who first found me were just because I decided to actually put the furry tag on my channel.
No.
And sometimes I think I just randomly get recommended to people, but also sometimes you get people who are like huge fans of these kind of games. I feel like that happened the most when I played through Perfect Dark. People really like Perfect Dark. Choosing streamers by searching furry. Yep. Okay. And sorting the viewer count low to high. Lowers. Oh yeah. No, that's totally fair. It's honestly like something I was kind of worried about. Like when I first saw streaming, like as a thing, it was like super unappealing to me because I think all I really saw was bigger streamers. Where it's like not even, I don't know. It's so crazy that I'd almost rather half the time just like watch VODs or, you know, watch like trimmed down YouTube videos of the good stuff. Unless it's like a game that I actually want to play through. But then I realized that smaller streamers, it's just like, it's more fun to just, it feels more like just hanging out. And I like making that space, both for myself and for other people. It's cool if people swing by. It's cool if it's like a lower key day where, you know. But yeah, I like the lower key chatting. Yeah, the hanging out thing is what I like as well. It feels more personal than bigger streamers. Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day, and I think that's like, at least for the better part of the past, maybe even like upwards of 15 years. I've always kind of like tried to be that person, even in just my friend group. Where like, I guess just by chance, I've always had like a better house for like hanging out and stuff like that than a lot of people. So I've always kind of liked hosting like get-togethers where I can and things like that. These games are simply enough that playing one-handed is pretty easy. Yeah. One thing I was almost tempted to set up, but figured it was going to be more trouble than it was worth, is when I first got surgery on my right hand, which clearly didn't help in the long run, I set up to do that, but it was shortly after the Switch came out, and I realized that you could pair Joy-Cons to the computer just through Bluetooth. So I set up Yume to be playable with just just a left-handed Joy-Con. And then that kind of opened my eyes to the idea of, I guess, just one-handed gaming with any game that only needs so many buttons. Whether that's RPGs or... I think I played through Sonic Advance 3 entirely with one hand, because realistically all I needed was the joystick and like one button, because it's a Sonic game. I think for that one you technically needed another one. But like that could easily just be like, you know, whatever the hell Nintendo calls them, like L and LZ. Oh, because I have the chat minimized, that would be why. Thank you. Who knows what goes on in that chat? Probably not stream safe. I actually have no idea if the chat like has any kind of filters or anything, but not about to find out live. Fact of the matter is that Human online chat is extremely chill 95% of the time, and the 5% of the time some troll jerk weirdo shows up and causes trouble. Either mod bans them immediately or someone pings a mod. Okay, that's cool. That's good. This isn't a game that deserves to have a weirdly hostile environment for no reason. I mean, not that any game does, you know, when I put it like that, but specifically a game like this that has like almost literally nothing to gain or lose. I've always kind of compared Yume, and obviously its fan games, as kind of like the virtual equivalent to taking a walk. Like, especially when you can do it with other people in Yume online. It's funny to imagine what people even have to troll about. We're all just trying to take a walk together. Having said that, there's a weird handful of problematic people that seem intent on stirring drama among the community, where there really doesn't need to be any. But often it's off the site to Discord. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't really have much drama intuition in me to even have the creativity to think what to make drama about. I guess outside of if it's just like a big picture, like politics thing or something, which I guess that can be kind of unavoidable to an extent, but pretty good. Just finished watching that Mario anime. Is it like that really ancient OVA, or is there like something that came out recently, or something else that I'm maybe not aware of? The OVA. Oh, nice. I never saw. I know I'm like aware of the Mario one because I know it's an especially like weird, like, you know, one of those made before the series had much of an identity kind of products. Where it's like, yeah, I guess I can see how you pulled all this weird stuff, but also this is like not what the characters ended up being, or the world ended up being. I did watch the Sonic OVA back in the day. That's that's a guilty pleasure for me. That has that kind of problem in a different way though, where it's not like it was super early on into the series. So like the animation fits pretty well and the vibe fits pretty well, but they just make some weird character design choices and like world choices that just never show up again. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I feel like that stuff used to bug me a lot more when I was like younger. Like, especially because a lot of the stuff was like annoyingly close. And my brain just kind of wanted the like the game to be basically just retold in animated form. But I feel like as an adult I much more so appreciate it the other way around. Where like it's a lot cooler just to see media as its own thing. Like if they're gonna make like a new Sonic show, it's like fine that it's a little different. Although it was weird that there was a Sonic show that was like 50-50 in the middle, where it was like, I guess the comics kind of were too, where they were like trying to retell the stories of the games, but like Sonic X and the Sonic comics all had their own characters, so it was like this weird in-between, where my kid brain was just kind of like, I just want to see the story from the game, and that's it. Get this human out of here. Hear about the new Knuckles show? I have, and I've been trying to more or less keep myself as spoiler-free as possible. Although I know it's strange, but also... Actually, the Sonic movies are honestly a perfect example of something where, like, I would never want those as a game, but I appreciate them a lot for what they are. Yeah, I forgot about Sonic X. Yeah, Sonic X was, like... I, like, wish I watched it more growing up. But I didn't understand how to get to the channel that it was on. So I just kind of got the secondhand version of it, where I just, like, occasionally, like, saw clips of episodes online and stuff. I hear the third season, ironically enough, I hear the third season is really good, and it's specifically because it tells its own unique story that has nothing to do with the games. Doing good, just getting through a boring work day. Well, you got the stream on, that's how you know it's a boring work day. When I was working at, you know, like the retail jobs like Target and stuff, I would have YouTube on a lot more, but now that I'm working a job where I have to, like, sometimes actually think about what I'm writing, I have a weirdly hard time trying to type up sentences while listening to somebody talk at the same time. So I feel like the only time now that I can really do something like put on a YouTube video is if it's like, all I'm doing is like pure design busy work and nothing else. Which is often enough that it's still a good way for me to kill time at work, but like, nowhere near as much as it used to be when retail didn't involve literally any thinking at all. Honestly, it makes me a little surprised I'm able to focus and play games as much as I am. Or I'm able to talk and play games as much as I am, I say as I immediately mess up my sentence. Like, I think I always assumed that streaming was going to be something that was going to come more difficult to me. Especially with, like, the fighting game stuff. Like, I know that there's a decent amount of people who are pretty afraid to even try streaming something like fighting games, because the idea of doing it while being live and trying to talk to people is, like, very understandably something that's a little too overwhelming for them. I feel like a stupid thing that I end up thinking about more than I'd like is the, it was one of those, like, old things people used to meme on, like, of, like, gamers trying to think of, like, a cool thing to make themselves sound cool. Like, the kind of thing that would have been shared around Facebook in, like, the late 2000s, early 2010s. Of, like, what was it? It's like, life is like a video game. If there are enemies on your path, that means you're going in the right direction. And I like hate how much I like actually think of that while I'm trying to navigate through a game. Like I'll be like, oh, there's enemies. I think that means I'm going in the right direction. Alright, this stage is great. This was something where like, so this was like the demo stage for the game. And I might have played this stage like 300 bazillion different times before the actual game came out. And it was kind of surreal to actually get my hands on the full game once it did. It's one of the last times I can think of where I did play a demo obsessively. Because demos obviously aren't that much of a thing anymore. Demos have been relegated to mainly indie games now. Yeah, pretty much. I feel like with indie games it makes a lot more sense because they're a lot cheaper. Oh, at least a lot of the times they're a lot cheaper. So like, if you're a little studio and just want people to see your game like at all, it's a pretty good way to do that. Oh yeah, so this was the part where like, especially after all the build-up. So like I said earlier, like I played the shit out of the original demo for Unleashed, which was just the first day stage. It didn't even have the night stages. And when I originally got to this stage, after all, after finally, played the first day stage, and then it was all of that werehog back to back. Whoa, I forgot about that glitch. Getting to this stage, I like borderline got stage fright. I was like, do I actually know how to play this game? Oh my god, I'm moving. I'm doing something that's not the same demo I played 10,000 times in a row. The graphics and this have held up really well for 360 era. Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't run the best always, which is kind of annoying. Like, it's like aiming for 30 FPS, but there's some parts where it dips like well below that, which kind of sucks. But I mean, just look at it. I don't care. I don't know. This game is absolutely gorgeous for the time. And again, like, how well animated everything is and everything, on top of just the world design in general, like, it just holds up so well. It's, like, hard to overstate just how gorgeous this game was. Like, obviously the 360 was, like, no slouch of a console, but I feel like in general, my memory of 360 games make them look a lot better than they are. Like, they're a lot closer to, like, PS2 than modern gaming than, like, I like to admit. Man, it is still, like, occasionally blowing my mind how rough the frame rate is in this game. I guess just because I don't, like, remember that part of playing the game originally. Probably just, like, wasn't something I, like, had quite the eye for, or just in general, like, it wasn't quite as common for games to have better frame rate. The N64 is, like, extra bad with that, where, like, I don't know. I don't think about the fact that Ocarina of Time originally ran at like 20 frames a second at best, but that is definitely part of actually playing it on the console. Are there any somewhat forgotten 360 games that you want to revisit? I don't think so. I feel like a lot of my, like, my mental checklist of games that I particularly care about like that has kind of been filled out over the years, where, like, whether it's through emulation or eventually getting ports or whatever. So, like, this is a big one, which I've already talked about a decent amount, as far as, like, the availability of it, and hopefully it gets better with time and not worse. Afro Samurai was, like, the big game, where, like, I know that was never, ever in a trillion years getting a PC port. So I'm very happy that, like, if the PS3 emulation for that game wasn't so perfect, I definitely would have gone out of my way to get a physical copy of it again. Honestly, I should go out of my way to get a physical copy anyway. That just sounds like a game that would be cool to own, as far as, like, being one of my favorite games of all time. I want to say that there was other 360... Oh, you know what? One of them was, I would have cared way more about the original Marble Blast Ultra if it didn't... What was it? Marble It Up, I think, is the game that came out recently. That's, like, basically a we didn't get our IP back version of Marble Blast by the same people who made it, and it's, like, effectively the same game.